Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, and I'm also going to share my screen. Hopefully I'll be able to do that without breaking anything. All right, so I'm sharing one of my desktops, so hopefully you guys can see it.
Yep.
All right, looks like Vitali's joined us too. So.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Hello,
how are you?
everybody.
How are you?
Hello.
All right, so around the globe. Yeah, and I saw Noguchi's Slack message too, so hopefully he'll join us soon enough, and we'll get things started. Our very first core team meeting call. I'm excited. So, and thank you, Remy, for joining as well. So yeah, I posted on the service desk, the tool that I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but I posted the agenda in the slide deck, so hopefully you were able to see it. But if not, you guys can just follow along. So I mean, just I think one of you, at least one of you, had to leave in about like 30 minutes after the hour. So I'll try to keep this closer to 30 minutes versus 45. But pretty informal agenda. Obviously, quick, introduction, kickoff. I think individually, I talked to all of you. I want to talk about the goals of the meeting series going forward, communication channels that we have currently, and then other tools that we might potentially explore. And then I think there was some lively discussion on the roles of like reviewers and maintainers on the Slack channel a couple of weeks ago. So we just want to finish that conversation. And there are a couple of like merge requests that we wanted to point out. I mean, Hannes, you wanted to talk about one of them. It looks like unfortunately it got pushed out to 11.3 again, but it looks like it's getting there somewhat. But and then finally talk about like future meetings. So in terms of like agenda topics, anything else that any one of you want to add, or like any comments, or I guess not. Okay, cool. All right. So, I mean, I don't think we need to do like a huge like round of introductions. I think one of the things I noticed was that not all of us had like met each other, but I think this is, at least for several of you, probably first time you're seeing like people's faces, like at least virtually, like for the first time. So maybe quick introduction in terms of names and where you're located. Maybe that's helpful. And obviously, I'm Ray. I'm based in California in the U.S., so it's a little after midnight here. So hopefully, hopefully I won't, fall asleep in a few minutes. But that's who I am. I guess we'll go down the order of the picture that I see. Like Jacopo, do you want to go next and just tell us where you're located?
All right. I'm Jacopo. I live in Italy, and yeah, it's 9:30 a.m. here, so I'm good.
Cool.
And that's it for now.
Yeah. Right.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
All right. Yeah. I'm Hannes. I'm from Germany. It's morning here as well. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. Okay. I'm Robert. Nice to meet you all. I'm living here in Graz, Austria, and today is gonna be the hottest day in the year.
I think it's my turn. My name is Vitaly. I live in Russia, Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk. It's near Japan.
Okay.
It's about 6 p.m. right now, and I'm a developer.
Cool. All right, Remy, you should introduce yourself too, but in case people haven't met you. But.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, I'm Remy. I'm sure you all know me, but yeah, that's super cool to put some faces on your names for the one that I didn't met already. and I'm based in Cannes, France. So it's for a few weeks now. It's the hottest days of the year, and I think the next one is Takuya.
Yes. I'm Takuya from Tokyo. Besides contribution, I'm having GitLab Tokyo. I almost 10 times. So through this core meeting, I want to increase more get contributions from non-core members. Thank you.
All right, cool. Well, I think glad you can join. I didn't even see that you're already on, so glad that you're on. Cool. So, and then, yeah, I mean, I think like at least like, you know, 3 or 4 of us will be at the summit in a few weeks, but unfortunately not all of us. But hopefully, I mean, we'll have plenty more summits going forward, so we'll all have a chance to meet face to face. Cool. So thanks for that. Nice friendly introduction. So just moving to next slide. Sorry, the letters or the fonts are a little small. Hopefully you won't have any problem seeing this. And so, I mean, here are some of the goals, and I think I talked to some of you, and hopefully, you know, as we continue this series, we'll have like non-core members join the call as well, like from broad members of the community. I mean, first goal is to, I think, this is a feedback I got from all of you, is having a regular communication amongst core team members. I think there's a value in doing that. Like, I mean, we obviously communicate with each other through like a Slack and other channels, but I think having a virtual meeting, like whatever the right frequency is, once a month or once every other month, I think would be pretty valuable for us to sort of stay in touch with each other and have conversations that sort of deal with topics for their broader community. Obviously, there are a lot of developers here at GitLab, but I think all your core team members bring perspective from outside of the company. I think that's valuable. Wanted to share concerns that you have, and definitely want to keep this meeting open and have it available to everybody, and then also record it in case people want to hear some of the discussions that we're having. So let me just pause there and see if you guys have any thoughts or other feedback that you want to add. But sound okay? Or yeah. Okay. Cool. And the other thing, I mean, this is like the third bullet item here about the office hour. This is something I learned. I went to a community leadership summit here in the US that was about almost a month ago. And the topic was, how do we build communities from, around across the globe without having like a really formal meetings? And one of the things I heard from, one of the my former community members from OpenStack, what she told me was that they're moving more towards like an office hour format. So you don't have like real stuffy formal agenda, but just have open discussions so people feel free to ask questions. So apparently they've been doing a lot of office hour type of meetings in the OpenStack community. So that's something I'd like to also try out and have a more like informal conversation so that people feel free to speak, have open discussions about, it doesn't have to be a technical issue. It could be about like, there are any issues in the community in terms of people getting involved and, contributing. I think that, I want to make it easy for people to have those conversations. And like, I mean, Takuya mentioned, like, we want to encourage contribution from, not just this group of people, right, from outside. So I want to make you feel welcoming so that we have more of an informal discussion. But does that sound okay, or like?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, and then obviously, I mean, this is our first one. So obviously, as we do this on a regular basis, the format and and how we go about doing the meeting will evolve. But we want to make it kind of flexible and open so that we can help grow the community. So if there are no other comments on the meeting goals, I'll move on to the next slide. And please feel free to stop me and interrupt me. I don't want to be doing all the talking. And feel free to bring up other thoughts or ideas. This is probably not the complete list. So we have like established communication channels, for the core team. And then obviously, I mean, both of the tools that we've had in the past, or we still have, are Slack channels and Google Group. And those are actually both private, right? I mean, like people, unless you sign an NDA, you can't get onto the Slack channel for good reasons. And the same thing with like Google Group. If you're not subscribed to it, as a mailing list owner, I think Remy, you might be one of the owners too. Like if you're not added there, you can't contribute to the discussion. We don't need to get rid of these. I think those tools are appropriate in a lot of instances. But I also wanted to explore having more public and open channels for communications. And we already obviously have an IRC. We have the GitLab channel where, I follow some of the discussions that go on IRC, and a lot of it's support related questions. But whoops, looks like there's a background noise somewhere.
Robert, mute yourself for a second.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. So thank you. So we're talking about the IRC. So I don't know if any of you guys know. Do you know if our IRC channel is tied to a Meetbot? I was wondering if we can use an IRC channel to have IRC meetings, but. Remy, do you know who in our IT organization is managing the IRC channel, or?
No, I don't know. Drew. I'm not familiar with IRC.
Oh, okay.
It's Drew Blessing.
Oh, it's Drew. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I guess that's another question. I guess, Remy, you're saying that, I think you just mentioned that you're not too familiar with IRC, but other folks, have you had a lot of meetings on IRC in the past? Or on my previous two communities, we had a lot of the meetings, all of them had IRC as a tool. So all the meeting minutes were kept on Meetbot, but I don't know if other folks have used it, but.
Is it really used these days?
I'm sorry?
Is the IRC used these days?
Yeah, some communities, they still use them. I mentioned OpenStack as an example. Some of their meetings are just IRC only. They don't even have conferencing tools. So it depends on the community, I think. And then I was in a networking project called OPNFE before I came to GitLab, and all a technical steering committee meetings. We'll be on Zoom, but we also had note taking was done on IRC. So Meetbot basically captures all the minutes, but I don't necessarily want to force it on people, because that's it's a pretty old technology. It's from the 80s, right? So it's not necessarily used for all the communities, but some communities do use them. But the good part of it is that it's public, and then note capturing is pretty easy when you're having meetings, right? But you can also have asynchronous discussions, but it's sort of like Slack with no user interface, basically. But
I don't know, but I think we need a public channel, and we kind of need to use it in order to be open to the public more, because
right.
Slack and Google Group are both private. So we should find out a good tool that will be useful for the community. to cooperate with each other. So if IRC is the only option, I don't know.
Right.
If there's any other option, maybe.
Yeah.
We could
I mean,
consider them.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, let me know if any of you folks have experience with IRC, have strong opinions. I mean, I'm certainly comfortable with it because that's a tool that I used for like 4 years in my previous community. But you know, it's got its downsides too. It's not perfect. But in terms of like having a public channel, that's why I thought like a Vinny suggestion of using a service desk was an interesting idea. Because if you click on this, I mean, all of this is like public, right? I mean, anybody can see. I'm sharing the screen now. I basically sent an email to an address. I mean, it's kind of long email address, but when you send an email to the service desk, it gets captured as an issue. And then you can, you know, keep commenting on the issue. So, I mean, this is my first test. I just published the, you know, agenda and the logistics, and then I added on like the slides as another, like a follow-on to an issue. And this is completely like open to the public. So this is an interesting way of doing it. You know, if this service desk option works well for everybody, I mean, this is something we can try and see how it works. But
yeah, we should try. I think we need both async and sync way of communicating. So this one should be the async one, perhaps, and the or any other better tool. I don't know. Not tool. If there is, should be the sync one.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. So. I mean, the other option that I thought of was, yeah, I mean, this is asynchronous too. In addition to service desk, is I don't believe like wiki is widely used within GitLab, but we can create a wiki page for a core team, right? So it's relatively easy to. I mean, for example, like posting meeting materials or meeting notes. That's a good way of doing it on using the wiki. But we can try with the service desk and see how it goes, and think about adding a wiki. But I mean, I think it's simple enough that you just click on a wiki and just creates one, right? But any like other thoughts or comments on?
Maybe another idea could be using Gitter.
Gitter?
Gitter, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think Gitter is open, so
right.
So people could join a GitLab core team room and ask specific questions there for the synchronous communication channel.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are using Gitter compared to IRC.
Yeah, I've never used it, so I can't I can't really comment on it. But yeah, Robert, if you want to like send me like a link with info, I can definitely take a look at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I can't remember, like Hannes, if you're active on IRC, but if you look at our IRC channel, it's like really active, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are questions that are being posted like, 24 hours a day. We can create another channel in IRC, like GitLab meeting or something, right? And then, that's where we have meetings and other conversations, but But
as far as I know, it's also possible to link IRC and Gitter together, so it shouldn't matter in which the people use. So.
Right. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's like look at service desk and see how that works, and then I'll take a look at like a Gitter as well, and see if another more like a chat tool type of tool is needed. That needs to be public, but we can definitely see. Cool. All right. So any other comments or thoughts on communication channels? Like I'll try to move things along. So we can cover most of the agenda topics. And yeah, so, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, do you mean communication through core team members?
Core team members and also like, you know, outside of the core team. So like a public communication channel. That's I mean, I think in terms of like a private channels, I think we have like with the Google group and Slack, I mean, I think those are adequate. But I think the concern I had was like, we don't necessarily have like a public communication channel that's open to everybody. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure, you bet. Okay, so going back to slide 5. So there's a good discussion on Slack. I mean, when you were here in the US a couple of weeks ago about different roles like reviewers and maintainers. And I think most of this were discussed on the Slack, but just wanted to kind of wrap it up. So I didn't know about this, but Stan pointed this out. There was a discussion a couple of months ago on, so it's basically this merge request where I think, as you pointed out a couple of weeks ago, I think 3 of the core team members had like a maintainer rights. I think that was like an old legacy. Where I think in the old days, all the core team members were automatically like given like a maintainer rights, but that's no longer the case anymore. I think right now all the core team members are basically in the developer role. And then if you look at this merge request, there are details on the discussion that happened a couple of months ago, and delineate roles for like reviewers, developers, and like maintainers. And I think we still need to better document that. And I did open an issue, like it's this issue here, the last link, to try to sort of clarify that role in a nice table. I think it's a Kubernetes community that has it in there, like a GitHub page, right? That they have a nice table of what the different roles are, what the responsibilities are. And we can create something similar to that. So if you want to take a look at that issue, like after the call, and if you have any comments, I'll be happy to like hear that. I just like I started something as a starting point. But if I'd like to get more like a feedback before I like create a merge request to create a separate documentation on people's roles. But if you want to take a look at that, that would be great. So, yeah, so Tucker, does that like answer your question? I'm sorry, I couldn't like answer your question like a couple of weeks ago when we were on the call with Sid, because I thought you were talking about something else. But hopefully that sort of answers your question that you had a couple of weeks ago. But
sorry, I couldn't catch
no,
up.
yeah. So I mean, hopefully, like this roles discussion we had, you know, over Slack. I hopefully that answers your question. I think we need to have a formal, better documentation on what the different roles are. But if you want to take a look at this issue and see if I'm starting on the right path, then I can create a merge request, create a separate documentation to document what these different roles are. But
so I mean, will you change the situation, or just we made this decision to make documentation current.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some pieces are like documented in different places, but I like your idea of just putting it in like one document, right, where all the different roles are laid out in a table, so it's easy to see. But
okay.
Yeah,
I got it.
Okay, thanks. So if you want to take a look at this issue, and I try to create a similar format as what Kubernetes community did, and just please let me know if you think that's that's a good approach or not.
Okay.
Cool. All right. All right, let's see. Moving right along. So, I mean, some of the ongoing work items that we either discussed in the past or wanted to highlight. I mean, the first one, I'll try to open this. Hannes, this is yours. And I mean, this has been going on for a while, but yeah, if you want to just quickly just give an overview in case other people are not familiar what this MR is for.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So at the moment in your profile page, you have the contribution calendar, but it only shows contributions that are public or visible to that specific person. And a lot of people asked if the blue dots in the calendar could include private repositories as well. So, for example, in GitHub, they would use it as a resume to show how active they are. And they wanted something similar in GitLab. And that merge request and the one before that have been open a very, very, very long time. So I just took this one as an example where I think we should discuss it in the future. Very long-running merge requests and how why are they running so long and what can we do to improve it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just looking at the last two comments, and I mean, you guys know better than me, but it looks like they're pretty close. I mean, they just. You know, I don't think there's anything like new development that's needed, but it's mostly around, I mean, they run into like a scheduling issue and like they need to do some more tests, but that's what it looks like. But Hannes, I don't know if you've seen the comments from last week, but.
Yeah, I saw them.
Okay, cool.
It's one of the merge requests that gets rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled.
Right, right. Well, hopefully, like, hopefully next month we'll come to fruition. Cool. And then the second one, I mean, Remy, thanks for like reviewing this yesterday. I mean, this is, this was actually started by somebody from outside of GitLab. I mean, this is like some of these ideas. I had the same ideas when I joined GitLab about improving like a lot of the documentation for onboarding. Like contributing.md page is very, very long, as you all know. And then we also have like a different web page for to attract contributors. And I think he's made a lot of changes to contributing.md. So I think it's like Remy, like from what I've seen, it's mostly like additional lines that he needs to add, or it's just minor stuff, right, that he needs to change. But obviously, it seems. I mean, not surprisingly, he has a full-time job, so he's trying to do these in the evenings or on weekends. So hopefully, he'll see this pretty soon and get this done. And then I've had like additional like ideas to streamline the contributing page, but I've been waiting for this to get merged so that we don't have any merge conflicts. Two different patches, but. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So somebody from outside of the community trying to help out. So that's cool. So I mean, so I guess like the other thing, I think Robert, we talked like earlier. I mean, you're working on like a merge request already, but and Vitaly and others, I'm sure you guys are too. But other like merge requests or work items that you guys want to talk about? Like quickly, or I mean, if not, that's fine. But
well, I think it's a Rails 5 migration is close to be done, but last two weeks I'm off because I'm changing my jobs right now, so I'm not very familiar what's going on right now on GitLab. So I think it's about a few issues open to related to Rails 5 migration, and all of them are on EE repo. So I think it's gonna be done in the next release.
Okay.
So I think this is one of the major issue right now, and and that's it.
Okay. I mean, is that when you say next release, Vitaly, is it 11.3 or?
I think 11.4.
Okay. Okay.
Because as far as I know, we just got the freeze window closed, and we have to Rails 5 right after that window. But I don't have enough time right now, and Jan, the employee of GitLab, doesn't have the time too. So I don't think anyone else works on it. So it's gonna be on the next release.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. Like, anyone else, like other merge requests or stuff that you're working on that you want to share, or? All right. All right. So we can move on. So this is the last slide, and I know some of you may need to drop off, but last item I wanted to talk about is future meetings. I mean, I haven't like really settled on like how frequently we want to meet. I mean, some of us like we were saying earlier, we'll be at the summit, so we'll see each other in a few weeks. But in terms of like a call, like, I mean, are you all okay with starting like monthly, or like, I mean, do you want to meet like less frequently than that? I don't know if you guys have any opinions, but
I think monthly is very good, great.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. I mean, so if people are okay with that, we can start that way, and then if it turns out that we don't need to meet as frequently, then we can change how frequently we meet. But so yeah, let's go with the monthly, so obviously the next one will be sometime in September, and obviously we have a time zone challenge, but what I'll do is like I did with this meeting, I'll send out a doodle poll and see at the time that works for most people. And I completely understand, like, if I don't expect people to dial into a call like in the middle of the night. That wouldn't be fair unless you want to. But if we have like 3 or 4 the core team members on the call, I think it's still worth having. And then, like I said, all the calls will be recorded. So if you happen to miss a call, then you can always catch up and reach out to me if you have any questions. So we'll plan on having a call sometime in September. In terms of, I mean, topics, I mean, you don't have to like tell me the future topics like right now, but I mean, you can send an email to the service desk or send me an email. But in terms of like other topics you want to discuss, like, I mean, what are some of the things that you want to discuss in future meetings, like in September and October? I don't know if you guys have any strong opinions or thoughts, but
I don't have any strong opinion, but I remember the last time we met, we talked about the process of is the contribution, the first contribution, and we talked about contribution coaching and this new process that we should think about. Maybe we should start thinking about that and talking about that for the next
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe one good thing we can do is we can start collecting ideas on like a service desk as an issue, right? And then, I can list some of the things that, I started like thinking about working on. And then if you guys have any comments or feedback, you can add to that. So let's definitely do that, but I'll formally add that as a topic next month. So.
Perfect.
Cool.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Is there any rule to add or remove members from a core team?
That's a good question. So, yeah.
A proposal to add members is arbitrary at any time.
Right.
As I know. But to remove member or is not so clear for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Remy, you can probably, I mean, you have more of a history than me. I think looking through like old emails, I've seen a lot of people kind of step down voluntarily from the core team because their job changed and, you know, they weren't going to be active anymore. But was there ever like a case where like somebody had to be asked to be removed or asked to like step down? Or I don't know if that ever happened, but
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people just leave when they are not
Right.
confident. Yeah, where they are basically not involved that much anymore.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, Takuya, I don't know if you have any like thoughts, but I mean, it might be a good idea to, you know, document a criteria for a core team member, right? But I don't think it's like really formal right now, but
okay, I have a look as an open source project.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like other like projects, they typically like, I mean, some of the projects they actually like vote, right? If they have a large enough community, there's like a nomination and there's a vote for like a technical committee member, as an example. Like, you know, it's like Kubernetes, I think, is a good example, right? But yeah, maybe that's, you know, maybe that's something that we need to think about. Maybe we should be a little bit more formal, but so.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's a good discussion topic though. But, any other topics or anything else?
Maybe we could look at one or two issues with a stewardship label, I guess.
I'm sorry, Hannes, can you repeat that, please? I can quite hear.
We could maybe look at one or two issues that have the stewardship label, because those are typically the ones where GitLab is not sure at the moment yet what to do with those. The input from the community might be helpful there.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I could, like, which label were you saying? Like,
stewardship.
Oh, stewardship label. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else? Like, cool. Yeah. If you think of anything else, I mean, please, I mean, just email either me or the service desk, and then we'll get topics added. So. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think we managed to spend almost like 45 minutes as I originally scheduled. But if there's anything else, well, thanks for joining the call. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. But glad to have the first like a core team call like under the belt, and hopefully we can meet on a regular basis for continued conversations. So.
Thanks, Ray.
Well,
thanks for
all right. Well, thanks. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming, Remy, and hopefully you stay cool in Europe. Like, hopefully you won't bake too much. Cool.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. All right, cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.